Okay, so we would like to begin our study session for City Council on Tuesday, January 6th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. And we have council members Lowry and Lowry who are joining online, so we have a quorum. The first item of business is the discussion about boundary line adjustments with Bluffdale by Mr. Barker.
Thank you. All right. This is just a quick update for the council to know that in the next 30 to 60 days, we'll be bringing two different proposed municipal boundary adjustments with Bluffdale. One is for the access road that will service what's being proposed as the new front runner station in Bluffdale as part of the Point project. You may recall I brought this up, I think last meeting or the meeting before, but the way the proposed roads are laid out, there's an intersection where two roads that are in Bluffdale meet at an intersection which is in Draper, which isn't good. So the proposal would be that we adjust our municipal boundaries so that that intersection is also in Bluffdale, so that they have control of that whole road. The second one involves Porter Rockwell Boulevard through the Point. And I'm just bringing up so the municipal boundary is shown in blue here. The southern part of Porter Rockwell, where it meets 146th, is actually in Bluffdale. So the proposal would be to move the municipal boundary a short distance to the west, so that the whole length of Porter Rockwell from Bangerter to 146 is entirely within Draper. We met with Bluffdale and the Point before Christmas, and the Point is working on getting a survey, a plat, a boundary adjustment plat prepared. Once they've got that prepared, then we will put this back on the agenda for the consideration of a resolution of intent to adjust municipal boundaries on those two parcels. So just giving you an update as to where we are in the process. And that's it, unless there's any questions. Okay, thank you.
Then the next is also by Mr. Barker about the designation of emergency succession of city officers.
Okay. So there's a state statute that requires, there's a state statute as part of the Emergency Management Act that states that cities have to designate successors for their officers. The statute allows, there's kind of three options. We can do that on a yearly basis by July 1st of each year, designate interim successors for each officer. So for instance, the city manager, city attorney, public works director, etc. If we don't do that by July 1st of each year, the statute defaults into a succession that is established by the legislature. And then there's a third option that we could actually adopt our succession by ordinance, which probably would be the best option. Since I've been here, unfortunately, we haven't hit that July 1st mark every year. So I'm just bringing this to you to let you know that we'll bring back a list probably in our next meeting, if not the first meeting in February, where we designate emergency successors. Some functions like the fire department and the police department kind of already have a built-in chain of command. So if the chiefs aren't there, there's either deputy or a captain in place. For Tracy, I mean, Spencer's the only other person that is qualified. Although excuse me, I caught myself just as I looked at Jenny. So there are other successors. But anyways, without belaboring the point, I'll bring back some options for the council to consider. So, and the intent will be that we'll follow the current chain of command within each department. So, that's all I have.
Any questions? Next, it'll be a discussion about the TRSSD streetlights by Mr. Marshall.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, I do. Hey, Robert, the clicker's up there
Oh.
so that we can use it.
You have it already pulled up, Jake?
Yeah, it's already pulled up, it's
Oh,
just
okay.
minimized.
Yep.
Okay, so you might recall a couple of meetings ago, I had brought up that the board requested that the city take over all maintenance on their streetlights. There was some concern from some of the council members that if we were doing that, we'd have to worry about all these different style of streetlights. I went back and talked to some of our crews. That's not an issue. They already have some on hand. We can easily order them and keep them on inventory. I met with the board and we kind of came up with a solution that I'm just looking to see if you're interested in us pursuing it. So this is the typical street light. You can see it's different than our city standard. It's a little bit problematic because the wood tends to rot and this tends to break off. They've refurbished a bunch and they did it kind of hokily, so there's some that they've gone back and refixed, but the problem is no one understands that they're not our streetlights, so they complain to us, and then the board is incapable of addressing it in a timely manner, so then they get really frustrated and we're getting yelled at and the residents don't understand. So we came up with this solution. There's roughly 150 streetlights up in the TRSSD. That's a tenth of our total streetlights. So currently what we take care of is our base services. So we're responsible for all below ground electrical to the streetlights, electrical external to the pole and assembly, ensuring power is supplied to the poles, and providing underground repairs and fuse replacements. So if we want to pursue some sort of agreement that we take over responsibility, these are the additional things that we would have to track and charge to an account that would be paid for by the TRSSD money. There'd be maintenance of the streetlights, which would be any poles, foundations, electrical components within the poles. If the pole gets knocked over, or the light falls off, or there's something in the electrical components that's not working above ground, we would track that. They also requested that we would take a proactive approach to determine the replacement needs for those that were either refurbished poorly or still yet to be replaced. And then I told them that we don't have any space to store their streetlights, that we would have to use some of their money to build some storage up in Suncrest. The approach that I'm proposing, if we want to, would be we would take over all the streetlight maintenance, and the TRSSD would be completely out of it. We created new GL for the actual TRSSD funds to be deposited to annually in an amount up front, so that we're not doing, I don't know if you guys know with the snow plowing, we have to track everything. It's extremely time consuming, it's complicated, it affects all of us, and then we submit that to them for reimbursement. I don't want to do that. I want to take the streetlights over. So I would just ask for whether John says the best is January 1st or July 1st. We get a lump sum up front to take care of these things. We would determine that annually. The initial years being larger amounts to cover the proactive approach and the infrastructure storage needs. And then we would track everything still so that they could audit it if they wanted to, and also so that we could see where we were at in that account fund balance so that we didn't exceed that. And if we did, we'd have to go back to the board. That's something, still going to see if that's something the council wants us to move forward with, getting an agreement. This has been, once we settled with the district and it just became streets or streetlights and plowing, this is the last piece that we knew would ultimately fail. They're just, it's not in their wheelhouse. Like,
No.
they don't do this type of stuff.
The
tracking, or do you do that with all city lights, or would you just be doing it with?
No, we do it with all city lights. So we use an asset management software. So the lights are actually already in our software. We do work orders on them already, and we track our amount spent, hours spent, equipment. It would just be that additional stuff we'd make sure we'd separate it to charge to the different geos.
And the TRSD is already, as part of the tax that they're collecting, is supposed to be covering this. So that really what they would do is then just pass the portion of the tax they're collecting for streetlights would just come to the city, and we would do all the work. And I think what Robert said at the beginning is really important, in that everybody just assumes they're city issues, and when they don't get replaced or repaired promptly, we're having to point them back at the TRSSD, which, as Robert also has pointed out, isn't very efficient at getting the work done. So
another example of difficulties we have is they'll say, no, it's yours. So then we don't understand what's wrong with it, so we have to pay an electrical company to go out. And a portion of it might be ours, but then another portion is all their stuff. So then they're there, and then we're trying to get reimbursed for these electricians that are really expensive. So we just track it.
I have a question on that.
Yeah.
Are we collecting enough tax to cover the lights? Do we know?
So,
or if the TRSSD is collecting enough?
The amount that they're collecting covers streetlights and snow plowing. I'm sure there's years of heavy snow where there might not be enough, because that's happened with just reimbursement for snow plowing. So there'd be those off chances of certain heavy years that there might not be enough, but for the most part, I think it should be good.
So Fred, I don't think there's a line item on the tax notice that differentiates between snow plowing and street lighting. It's just one lump sum. So it's their responsibility, obviously, to manage their books and make sure that they're collecting enough tax to meet the obligations that they've got.
Okay. I want to make sure that we have it clear to them that it's clear that we'll be now covering that, so that if we have to make an adjustment, that we can have the TRSSD make that adjustment. I don't foresee a problem, but we want to make sure we have it covered.
The two members I met with, James and Daryl, they're like really wanting to get out of this.
Yeah. And so we'll have an agreement like we do for snow plowing that will cover this, and we can put in there, Fred, to address that issue of what happens if they fall short, or as has happened in the past, their budget gets referred, or whatever it is.
We'll have it in an agreement for how we handle insurance claims for accidents that cause damage. I'll have something in the agreement that would address if these light styles became unavailable, or it just took forever to get supplies, or the cost went through the roof, that we would present other styles to see if they would like it. We'll make it so it covers all the bases.
So then,
Thank you.
do you just need?
I just need direction as whether or not you want us to pursue moving forward with that sort of agreement.
So, Catherine, what?
Yeah, I think so. It makes a lot of sense. My one concern is just that I think you said it won't be an actual receipt. You're counting as much as the snowplow situation is. So my only concern is that they have the money to cover it.
Right. Yeah. There's that concern with snow plowing too. We do the service and then we ask for money. This would be get the money up front. And I mean, of course, if the light gets knocked over, we'd fix it if the money had expired, but we try to reimburse it.
Right.
But
We
it
know
won't
where
be
they
as
are.
consuming
Where they're at.
tracking wise, because it'll be just me worrying about where that billing goes to with finance, instead of all the guys having to track their hours and enter it in.
Okay, and Fred?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Are you in favor of moving forward with this?
Yes, I am. I think it's a good idea.
I am too. Thank you. Okay, the next item's been continued to So then we have, Jen Jaskremski, sorry, to talk about, some encroachment on Pioneer.
Going old school.
Again.
Okay, so, I just wanna get some, excuse me, I just wanna get some feedback from the council
Yeah, we'd love to get everybody
on
involved.
next steps. We've had an
Just gonna move forward.
encroachment onto city-owned, property, so on the southeast corner of Third East and Pioneer. The city owns about 5,000 square feet of space. It was acquired in, I think, '96 as part of street improvements. It is encumbered by several utilities. The property owner to the south, the office building to the south, has added a decorative wall and landscaping to the property without any city permission to do so. In discussions with the property owner, he's asked if there's any way that he can keep the improvements and work with the city on that. So we wanted to get your guys' feedback on what kind of option you would be open to. I did reach out to all the utility companies to see if they had any issues. Enbridge and Lumen do have a few utility lines that may result in maybe a tree being removed or relocated. There may potentially be some lines along the wall as well that we may need to look into, but all of the utility companies generally said they're fine with the landscaping. So the options the city has is to require that all the improvements be removed, allow the improvements to remain subject to the property owner entering a maintenance and liability agreement with the city for those improvements and maintenance, and then adjusting or removing any improvements that don't meet those clearance standards from Enbridge and Lumen. The third option would be to allow landscaping and irrigation to remain, but require that decorative wall to be removed. It still required that maintenance and liability agreement, as well as any improvements that don't meet clearance standards from utilities being removed. One concern staff does have with the wall itself is potential enforcement issues with either temporary signs, the plastic signs that get put up all up in the sidewalk. I see this as a big attraction for that, and potential for permanent signage to potentially show up. So questions, feedback?
I do have a question about, so in the site plan that I saw, it looked like they did have a plan for some landscaping, and so where exactly on these pictures is it kind of?
Their property line is right to the north of their building. So the landscape plan really showed a couple shrubs adjacent to the building, and that's it. And then everything else is city property.
So what you've just shown, Jen, it's about, what, 8 to 10 feet north of their building wall, or is it even less than that in terms of
No, so
property
their
line?
property line is probably only a couple feet away
Okay.
from their building.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the rest is the city property.
Can you go back to the?
How did they get approval to build so close to the property line?
The zoning has a 0 setback, so they could go up to the front property line.
Can you show me the options that you said that we have?
Did they realize when they were building the sign that it was off their property line?
Yes, they were aware. And to be clear, the decorative wall, the property owner, Jay's property owner, he has said he doesn't plan on putting a sign on it, that it's just a decorative wall. My concern is it becomes an enforcement issue down the line.
Yeah, I mean, if they know that they were encroaching, I mean, I was just trying to figure out why do we allow them to keep the wall up?
Well, that's why I'm asking if there's specific feedback, if you guys want the wall removed, if you want all of the improvements removed, as we go back and work with this adjacent property owner.
I think a question I had too was, you know, we see this in various places, like up by my neighborhood and that back highland. And I think several years ago, the city came in, but I don't remember what the resolution was. If people had to remove stuff, if they could buy the property. I know they can't buy here because there's utilities. But what are some other ways we've resolved this in the past?
I think there have been some areas where people have purchased property. I don't think that's something we've done recently. We've also enforced on making people remove improvements. Kelly, do you know any other?
Those are probably the
Yeah.
two main things that
Yeah.
we've done.
So we
in
usually
the
ask
past.
them to remove it.
Yeah.
My concern is I didn't realize their business sign was on our property, which really, is that
no.
a business sign or what,
No.
what's that sign?
It's just on the building.
So their business sign is, well, they have a real estate, for lease sign
Oh,
that
okay,
they
that's
put
for
up.
lease, okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure what that sign was.
If I go to the aerial, their permanent signage is down here.
That still concerns me, is having any kind of signage on our property.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether it's permanent or just temporary for lease. We don't wanna get into the business of allowing people to use our property to advertise their businesses or, that type of thing.
And that's my concern with the wall, is
It's
it's inviting.
Yes, we would prefer, yes.
Landscaping, get rid of the wall.
Okay, so
I would agree, I think, us allowing that would be setting a precedent for others to be able to utilize the property.
So Fred, are you saying so remove the wall, what about the landscaping?
Well, who's gonna be responsible for maintaining that landscaping?
The adjacent property owner would have to enter into a maintenance liability agreement with the city, and they would do the maintain the landscaping irrigation.
I think it looks.
I don't have as much harm with the landscape. I'm sorry, Glenn, I'm interrupting you. Go ahead.
Oh, it was Catherine, but go ahead, Catherine.
Sorry, I don't even know where it's.
All right, Catherine.
No, you're
good, you're good.
No, I think it looks nice, and so I think like having to take out all the landscaping, I'm like, well, I think that, I don't know, it would be interesting to see what it looked like when it's just city, and so I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I think it's great, especially if he's gonna have to enter into an agreement that says he's gonna take care of it, like, that seems, and I'm sure there's something that I'm not understanding here, but that seems like a win for us. I do think like signage on the city property is a bad idea, and something in that agreement should make sure to, if he is maintaining it.
Yeah, I would agree with Catherine on this. I think the landscaping definitely.
Sorry, Tasha, you're cutting out a little bit.
Okay. Well,
you said the landscaping.
I agree with Catherine.
Okay.
So keep the landscaping, but ask them to remove the wall.
Yes.
And any sign, they just can't have signage in our right of way.
Yes.
Fred, is that where you are too?
Yeah, yes, I'm in agreement with that too.
Okay.
So we'll bring back an agreement for final approval by this. Council. Okay.
I'll get with the adjacent property owner and we'll work towards an agreement.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, so the last item on the agenda is council manager report. Missing anything?
Do you want to hear from staff, or do you want to see if the council members have?
We can hear
okay.
from staff.
Linda, do you?
Mike just asked me to share, as part of the Draper Wellness Coalition, We are working with Salt Lake County Health to offer a public training, and it'll be Wednesday, January 28th here at City Hall from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Our area of focus for this quarter is suicide prevention and gun safety. And so the county will be here providing a QPR training, which is question, persuade, refer. It's a method that is known to be effective to help prevent suicide. And in conjunction with that, our police department has received a grant, not really a grant, a donation of free gun safes. So we are going to combine a giveaway of the gun safes with this event. There'll be, I think, 10 available. And there's a waiver that people have to sign. And then I think our community policing unit is going to do like a drawing just among the attendees that night. So just wanted to make you aware of that and let me know if you have any concerns.
Did you say the 28th?
Yes.
That sounds great. Okay.
Robert's got something.
I just wanted to give an update on our ongoing Pump Station 3 project. The first shutdown of the transmission line will be next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So similar to if any of you were here in the winter of 22-23 when we replaced the vaults on Traverse Ridge Road, there's a 24-inch transmission line that goes to the top that was having issues in the vaults, corrosion and stuff. So we fixed all that. But now this project is to add additional pump capacity to the pump station, which is a state law. We have to have 5 pumps, not 3. We have to have at least 1 backup, and we can use 4. So the first phase is next week, pending any unforeseen things. But we fill the tanks all up on top of the mountain, and we've calculated how many days we can live off tank water, assuming there's no emergencies. We monitor it the whole time. We have engineering and public works staff driving around. It's 24-hour shifts starting Tuesday through Thursday. This main focus of the first shutdown is to install all the additional power necessary for the pump station and the pumps. So we'll have those 3 days. I'll get with you, and I think last time I was emailing Lambert and Don. Every morning we send out at 8 a.m. we send out an email status of the tanks and whether we're on schedule. This one should be relatively smooth, I hope. But yeah, so we'll probably be doing some public relation messaging to say, hey, you're on tank water, like keep an eye out, don't abuse, don't overuse. People aren't watering, so we should be fine. In 22-23, I think our longest shutdown was 5.5 days, and we had 2 leaks during that, and we still had enough to do another 1.5 days. So pretty conservative, should be smooth. We'll have additional shutdowns through the winter. Probably February or early March will be a 5-day shutdown, which will be a lot more complicated and difficult. We'll have to drain the whole line, replace a bunch of valving, lots of welding. But it's not out in the storm on the road like we were last time welding in the snow, so it should be better.
Any questions?
Anyone else?
We started a big project today. As
Oh,
you
yes.
walked in, you probably saw. So 6 to 8 weeks for that to be completed, but we're seeing good progress already. So
Is
exciting.
your area secure overnight, or is the Visqueen kind of keeping everybody out?
It's the Visqueen at the moment, but we have installed a lock on an inside closet door where we've put everything
Okay.
that needs to be secured. So
Okay.
Okay. Anything from any council members?
I don't have anything right now.
Tosh is on her way over.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so we still have a quorum.
Okay.
Yeah, she's on her way over.
Okay, so if that's everything, then we get,
A little break.
do we do a motion? I can't remember. Do we motion close here or no?
Nope.
Okay, just break till 7 o'clock. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We'd like to go ahead and get our meeting started. We would like to welcome you all to our City Council meeting this evening. We'll go ahead and start with our flag ceremony and Pledge of Allegiance by Cub Scout Troop 4444.
Color guard attention. Audience attention. Will the audience please rise? Color guard advance. Cub Scout salute. Color guard halt. Color guard post the colors. Color guard salute. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color guard dismissed. The audience may be seated.
Thank you, Troop, for doing that for us. That was really special. Would you guys like to take a picture up here? The Troop, would you guys all like to come and take a picture? Okay, the next item on the agenda is a proclamation for Religious Freedom Day. I'll go ahead and read that. Whereas the United States Congress in 1992 set aside January 16th as Religious Freedom Day to honor the passage of the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom in 1786, and whereas Religious Freedom Day has been recognized by presidential and state proclamations annually, and whereas many of the first immigrants to our nation came to these shores motivated by their desire for religious liberty so that they could worship according to the dictates of their own consciences, and our forefathers saw fit to protect and support freedom of religion by establishing it in the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, and whereas those of faith and those of no faith have common goals of unity, love, service, mutual civility, and a desire to live true to belief and conscience. And whereas we seek mutual respect and fairness to all, and whereas we invite others to defend freedom of religion, including the long-standing Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Now, therefore, I, Bryn Heather Johnson, Mayor Pro Tem of Draper City, State of Utah, along with the members of the Draper City Council,
do hereby proclaim January 16th, 2026 as Religious Freedom Day and urge all residents to reflect upon and respect the importance of religious liberty for all. And I just want to state that the mayor is attending some oath of office ceremony, so he could not be here today. And Councilmember Green is away on active duty service, and Councilmember Lowry has called in, so that's where we are today. Okay, the next item is public comments. So if anybody would like to come up and give a public comment, they are restricted to items that are listed on this, that are not listed on this or a future agenda, and they are limited to 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone here who would like to make a public comment this evening? Okay. Not seeing anyone, we'll go ahead and move on to our next item, which is number 5, the consent items. Item number 5A is approval of the December 16th, 2025 City Council meeting minutes. Item 5B is approve Resolution 26-01. Item 5C is to approve Resolution 26-02. Item 5D is to approve Resolution 26-04. Item 5E is to approve ordinance number 1698.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, may I make a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we had a motion by Ms. Lowry. So how do you, and a second by Ms. Dolan. So Ms. Lowry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan? Yes. And Ms. Johnson, yes.
Oh, does Fred?
Oh, and Fred, sorry, Fred. Mr. Lowry?
Yes.
How do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, so the item has been passed unanimously. So we'll go ahead and move on to item 6, which is items for council consideration. And the first item is a public hearing, and that's ordinance number 1697. It's an ordinance amending the official zoning map of Draper City for approximately 1.04 acres of property from RA1 to R3, and it's located approximately 283 East Tanager Lane, and it's known as the Butler Zoning Map Amendment. And Paul Guyman is going to present for us.
Thank you. So we'll get right into it. So we have our vicinity map. We are located just west of 300 East and just north of Browns Pond. And like we said, we're off of Tanager Way. We go for a closer area. We can see Browns Pond in the bottom left. So we are the corner lot there off of Tanager and 300 East. Taking a look at the land use, so the proposed zone change for R3 zoning is compatible with the current land use of residential medium density. Take a look at the zoning map. So we are currently zoned RA1. There is R3 to the east, RA2 to the south, RA1 and R3 to the north, and RA1 to the west. So looking at overview of the request, so the proposed zoning is 13,000 square foot minimum lot size. The RA1 that it currently is 40,000 square foot minimum lot sizes. So looking at the lot of this acreage, which is 1.04 acres, that translates to 45,300 square feet. So looking at subdividing in the R3 zone, it would be able to do potentially 3 lots, but with the nature of 30 being a classified street, they wouldn't be able to have access off of there, so everything would have to come off of Tanager. So it would be tricky. So theoretically, 3 lots would be possible, but it would be tricky. We do have some site photos there. And then Planning Commission results. So the Planning Commission reviewed this item at the December 11th, 2025 meeting and forwarded a positive recommendation for the application with a vote of 5-0. I am available for any comments. We also have the applicant, Linnea, and her father, the property owner, here, that they can also answer any questions as needed.
Okay, Thank you. Any questions at this point? Okay. I'll go ahead and open it to public comments. If there's anyone here who would like to make a comment on this issue, please come forward and state your name and your address, and your time will start, and you've got 3 minutes.
Thank you. Jacob Goodrich, address is 259 Tanager Lane, so immediately to the west of the Butlers, and I just want to say I'm fully in support of this. Great neighbors, love to see the approval.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else here? Okay. Would the applicant like to say anything, address the council?
Just if you have any questions, I don't have anything to particularly say, so.
So considering what staff has stated, what is your intent to subdivide into 3 or?
So presently, I'm only looking to subdivide and develop the northwest parcel, and it would come in off Tanager Lane.
Okay.
So it's kind of the back corner.
Can we
where my
pull that up?
parents
And would you go ahead and state your name for the record?
are. Sorry, Linnea Butler, and it's my parents' property. Yeah, so I would be developing this corner right here with access to Tanager here.
And this might be a question for Paul, actually. You mentioned that they couldn't have access from 300 East. Can you, I apologize, I don't know, can you tell me why it would need to be off of Tanager?
Yeah, for sure. So in discussions with the engineering department, specifically Brian Maxfield, 3rd East is a classified road, so either a collector and arterial street. And so if subdivided, engineering department would not allow access to come from 3rd East being a collector or an arterial street. So they would have to provide access off of Tanager through either a private lane or flag lot, something like that.
So, sorry, Paul, does that mean that whatever's currently on 3rd East is the limit of drive is off 3rd East? Is that?
So currently they have one curb cut off of 3rd East on the northeast corner, but in talking with Brian, if they did the subdivision, that curb cut would go away. They wouldn't be able to have that access. Everything would come off of Tanager.
So I'm curious, if your intent is only to subdivide into 2 lots, why have you requested RA3?
Long term, there's 3 of us, 3 siblings. I have 2, a brother and a sister. So a third would go to each of us as far as estate planning purposes. But I intend to build on the northwest lot sooner than that, sooner than my siblings would want their inheritance, just for my parents, to be near my parents as they get older.
And I might ask a question too. Is this a new amendment? This, what you were just discussing about 300 East?
No, that's been the standard.
For years and years?
Can we make sure that we get all of this on the record by speaking into the mics, both for the applicant and for Paul, please?
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm just curious about all the other subdivisions down 300 East that dump on 300 East. Anybody know? I mean, there's one not a quarter of a mile down.
So I can help answer that. So when you're subdividing property and creating new property, all the access points have to comply with our code. For classified roads, we don't allow individual driveways. If your property only had frontage on 3rd East, you'd be able to have a private road that comes off 3rd East. Because you do have access to Tanager, you'd be required to have your access off Tanager.
Because the one I'm thinking of backed on the lake, and they had to go out on 300 East. That answers my question.
Okay, any further questions?
Can we pull up the map again of the different zoning in the area?
I might add something else here too. Jacob, our neighbor, owns, see this strip right here? Can anybody hear me? This strip right here, he also owns this lot. And at some point, him being much younger, but at some point, he's planning on developing this. And this will be the access to it. So he is willing to give us a right-of-way there for Tanager Lane. And possibly we can work out something from this lot to get to that right-of-way. That's our thinking, but I'd have to ask Paul about that.
Okay. Do you want to address that?
So can I have a question on that then? With that access, then would that mean that's where you would get 3 lots?
So this is new information to staff. This has not been gone over. The subdivision obviously hasn't been mapped out. So I can't speak to whether or not they'd be able to get the access off of that extra land. All that we've been discussing is the 283 East. So I can't speak for what future plans they have. That'd be something that'd be considered at a later date.
If there was a flag lot there, Paul or Jen, would that count towards the square footage of a lot, or is that excluded from the square footage of the lot?
Flag lots, the stem on the flag lot counts towards your minimum lot size. If you have something like a private road, that does not count towards your minimum lot size.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you. Can I turn this over to the council for consideration?
I'm not sure at this point that we have all the information necessary to move forward on this one. My inclination is still that this might be better as an RA2, and I'm a little concerned about this new information that's just coming forward about the access. I'm wondering if we could continue this to the next council meeting and get a little more information.
I would make that motion, Tasha, or second that motion from you. I think I would be in favor of continuing this, because I voice your state concern. If it's only going to be 2 lots on that, doesn't make any sense to me to make it an RA3. We should make it an RA2. But with this new information, I think we need to make sure that that is feasible.
Can I ask a question? Is the reason that you're looking, well, I guess you did tell us that you eventually hope to do 3, but the build that you're hoping to do in the northwest corner would be not a half-size lot. So I think that's why they're looking for RA3 now, even though they don't know what happens in the future, because of the size of the lot that she's hoping to build on now. Yeah, I'm guessing that's why they're...
The access to that lot would presumably be through this corridor that hasn't been contemplated by staff.
Yeah, I would assume that it would be on their existing lot, given the information that we received.
Right,
but maybe.
But they're saying no, it would be through the neighbors.
No. Sorry, if I can speak. I don't know if I'm allowed to speak.
Yes, go right ahead.
So right now, the plan is to have access up the west side of that red square off of Tanager Lane, a private drive. If that's not a viable option, we have the second option that we'll fall back on. There's plenty of land there to do the access, the drive up the west side of my parents' property, and have me live in the back there. But if for some reason the city says, no, we're not going to let you do that, or whatever, we will go to the route of, so that's like our secondary position.
So,
if you guys do want more information and want to continue this, I'd ask that you kind of provide us what information you'd like us to bring back. One thing with this being a rezone, we aren't in the design phase for a subdivision at this point. We don't have, engineered drawings, a survey, anything like that to clarify exactly how many lots they'd be able to get, what kind of design there'd be.
Council, do you have a recommendation or a motion?
I'm not ready to move forward on this one until we have a little more information about the access point and how all of the access for 3 separate units would be coming off of Tanager. I would move to continue it to the next city council meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Lowry and a second by Mr. Lowry. Ms. Lowry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Ms. Johnson votes yes. So this item will be continued to a later date.
To clarify, the motion was to continue to the next city council meeting.
Yes.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is to approve Resolution 26-03, which is a resolution adopting the Draper City 2026 Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan and Logistics Annex, and the staff report is by Nick Roble.
Good evening. Tonight I'll be presenting the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan and the Logistics Annex. My name is Nick Roble. I'm the Emergency Services Coordinator for Draper City Fire Department. So the purpose tonight is to provide an overview of the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan, and what that does is outlines the framework for managing disasters and major emergencies within Draper City. Also identifies department responsibilities and the coordination that will occur. So it was developed in compliance with FEMA, Utah Code, the NIM system, and the Incident Command System. And what it does is it establishes the framework to coordinate emergency response, recovery, preparedness, and mitigation operations that will take place. The scope of the plan, it applies to all Draper City departments, and it describes how we'll coordinate with county, state, and federal agencies, and also our integration with Salt Lake County and Utah County Division of Emergency Management. And it was based on the Salt Lake County Hazard Mitigation Plan that was recently approved by FEMA. So some of the objectives: want to establish scalable command and control structures, define our operational procedures across all departments, identify key roles, responsibilities, and resource coordination, support continuity of government and operations, and build community preparedness and resilience. So our concept of operations, our operational priorities, number one is always life safety. Then we're going to look to stabilize the incident, protect property and the environment, establish our community lifelines, and our continuity of government. So some of the preparedness activities that are going to be in our focus area. We're going to regularly update the plan and our continuity of operations plan integration, our training and exercises, and baseline FEMA, ICS, and NIMS training for our staff, including public outreach and education. So some of our response operations, our key actions: establish a common operating procedure, coordinate all public information through our Joint Information Center, conduct damage assessments, request mutual aid and resources as necessary, and support community protective actions and evacuations when necessary. Our recovery operations, once we transition from response to recovery, hazard containment, lifeline stabilization, and initial damage assessments. And then we'll move into a recovery task force, which coordinates recovery priorities and activates our recovery support functions and develops long-term recovery plan. Our implementation and maintenance going to be reviewed annually by Draper City Emergency Management. It will be updated every 3 years or post-incident or exercised with lessons learned. We're going to integrate with our department continuity of operations plan and continuous improvement through after-action reports. And moving on to the logistics annex. The purpose of that is to ensure that our responders have the people, equipment, facilities, and supplies needed to operate within the response, and it supports all city departments during emergencies and planned events. It applies to short duration incidents, extended multi-day emergencies, and large-scale evacuations and disasters. Some of our core capabilities: We'll be able to have resource requests, ordering and tracking, staging areas and facilities for responder support, transportation and shelter support, vendor, mutual aid, and partner coordination, and integration with county and state logistics systems. That concludes my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
No, just thank you so much for your work on this.
Absolutely.
We've been really wanting a very thorough emergency plan for a long time, so it is so great to see this being developed and implemented.
Yeah, I agree with Ms. Lowry. I was really impressed as I read through the information. I did have a question about how we are planning on getting some of this information out to the public. For instance, in the plan, I noticed that it mentioned it takes about 96 hours to get help, and encouraging people to have a kit for 92 hours. And I always do the bare minimum, so I have 72, which is what I had heard previously. So how are we going to get information like that out to our residents?
So we're going to be building our public and our private relationships, working with the public, conducting workshops, conducting training to let them know this is what we expect of them and what they should expect of us as a municipal response.
That sounds great. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to turn it.
Do we need to approve it?
I was going to turn it over to the council for approval. Do I have a motion to approve that?
Let's do it.
I'll make a motion. I motion that we approve Resolution 2603.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Dahlin and a second by Ms. Lowry. Ms. Dahlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Lowry, how do you vote? Mr. Lowry, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Okay, and Ms. Johnson votes yes. That brings us to number 8 on our agenda. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye.